For the longest time, I secretly wanted more. I often found myself shrinking to fit in, settling for what was comfortable, and even selling myself short. Once I finally accepted that we deserve success and we are blessed with the power to achieve it, I stopped playing small. I'm serious about building a life I love, and you should be too. I'm Denise Taylor of DeniseTaylor.live, and welcome to Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Happiness. I help women prioritize themselves, their success, and their happiness. Let's meet this week's achiever whose story will inspire you to push past your fears and soar. Welcome back. It's Denise Taylor. I'm always excited when you tune in to Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Happiness. This platform is here to encourage you, motivate you, and empower you to success in your life. I believe that you can build a life you love without apology. I also believe that God has given you the power to do so. I want you to always embrace your power and go. And today's achiever has done just that. You see, I believe that Jennifer has done the work, and that is one of our superpowers. Do the work. She did the work to go on her healing journey to forgiveness. Now, it was not an easy journey, and what she had to face was one that opened her up, but it allowed her to heal properly and for God to restore her and prepare her to move forward to serve in impactful ways. I am so glad to be connected with Jennifer, and I'm so glad that she was open to sharing with us here about her journey of forgiveness. Now, when you listen in, I want you to listen for the superpower of her doing the work. It's not always easy, but in her case and in the case of many, it is worth it. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your story. Now, I want you to listen in because it is a powerful one that I believe will encourage you. And I'll see you on the other side as I always do. I'm so grateful you tuned in. You're going to be blessed today. Well, welcome to this episode of Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And I will tell you, this guest today happens to be one of my favorite people. You know, anytime you take your first initial and marry it to your last name, you are an up and coming indeed. And so without further ado, I want to introduce to some and just reintroduce to many who were a part of the virtual summit, J Bell, as she loves to call herself. And her mission is to really help us get free in so many different ways. And her platform's expanding. And I just want to talk because I know wisdom is going to flow. So, J Bell, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your mission, things that you're working on, and what you value.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much to be on your podcast. I'm excited to just share on this episode because that is my heart. I am a faith influencer. I am J Bell, as I like to call myself, Jennifer Bell, J Bell, but I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to be fit for Him, and fit for Him meaning God, fit for Him physically, mentally, financially, and spiritually. Why? Because I want to do all that God is calling me to do with a spirit of excellence. That wasn't always the case because years ago, I had to find freedom in who I was. I had to find freedom in who God was calling me to be. And I had to face, I had to face a few things in my life to get to where I am, to where I can say that, God, I want you to use me in this way. And so what God inevitably did, I went through my education. I became a principal. I married the love of my life. He's my first and only, been married coming up on 31 years, 32
Awesome.
years.
Congratulations.
And y'all, I'm going to just tell you this. I not only love my husband, I like him a whole lot. And, you know, we have 3 beautiful adult children that we are so grateful that God has blessed us with. And I started to lose myself a little bit. I loved being a principal. I loved everything that I was called to do because that was truly a calling for me. As a matter of fact, my pastor said, "You're going to be a teacher." And I told him, "No, I'm not. Teachers don't make any money. I'm going to be a doctor." But I look back over my life and I see that God has orchestrated every single step, like he said in his word. Order my steps. So everything that I have gone through to get to this point where I am now a transformational speaker, I am on a mission to help women find freedom to thrive in every area of their life, especially through forgiveness, through their faith, and through their health, because that is part of my story. So I love to share that. And that's who I am today. And that's who I love to serve.
Oh my God. Now you said forgiveness, faith, and health. Those are absolutely key ingredients to making us up to be as whole as we possibly can be. Unfortunately, for many of us, including myself, and I know your story, so I know it includes you, we tend to harbor so much unforgiveness. We have so many scars, we have so much baggage, we have so many unmentionables, right? Those secrets that we carry. And they all translate into unforgiveness in many, many ways. And I, like you, carried those bags for years. I carried them around, almost held them hostage, not wanting to let them go. And in many ways, allowing them to define me instead of figuring out how to overcome them so that I could soar. And so let's just anchor in on forgiveness for a second before we talk about faith, because I know faith kind of ushered you out and it's an evolution. And then we can talk about our well being and our wellness. So let's talk a little bit about forgiveness.
Absolutely. Forgiveness is huge. I got saved as a young girl, and I grew up in the Kojic church. I was that church girl, doing all the right things.
Mhm,
And I was couldn't understand why I was molested as a child, to be
mhm,
quite honest, right?
mhm,
For a period of over 2 years, ages 12 to 14. And
mhm,
so back then, it's the secret taboo. You just,
mhm,
what stays in the family, what goes on in the family stays in the family, things
mhm,
like that. And so I never had any counseling or anything like that. So going on through life, I know now what I didn't know back then, but let me just tell you how my journey of forgiveness came about,
mhm,
because I never knew I was harboring unforgiveness because I spoke to the person when I saw them.
mhm,
I could be in the same room,
mhm,
but it's the internal pain that ripped me apart.
mhm,
And I tried to mask the pain by becoming the best of everything. Get your
mhm,
degrees, become the best at this, get your certification at that, all the awards. Do you just be the best you, and life will be great.
mhm,
And guess what? You have Christ in your life, so you're good.
mhm,
Well, all of that went unchecked, undealt with just over the years. I have forgiven that person with my lips first, and then I had to go back and forgive them with my heart. And I
mhm,
thought I was done because
mhm,
God told me at a conference, a women's conference, that I was standing in his way for what he wanted to do in my life because of unforgiveness. I knew exactly what he meant. So I went and I forgave with my heart. And I'm like, okay, I'm good now. We can
mhm,
just go on and be happy, 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 for real happy, not that, fake stuff.
mhm,
And so God had to take me on a journey. Although I have forgiven with my heart, but
mhm,
my heart was not healed. And
mhm,
that's something that only God could do. And
mhm,
I did not realize that it took me 39 years
mhm.
before I got the help that I needed
Wow.
to even start dealing with that hurt heart.
Wow.
I knew God loved me. I know what God's word says about forgiveness, because he said unforgiveness won't enter in.
Mhm,
But I'm like, God, I forgave with my heart. Why do I still feel this way? Why do I still feel like there's something wrong with me? Right?
mhm,
And so it wasn't until I allowed God, because he won't override our will. I
mhm,
allowed God to do that surgery on my heart. When you think about it, God deals with our heart. That's the center of our life. That's the center of our spiritual being and activity, right? Whereas the enemy, all these things in my mind, you're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. You don't deserve abundance of God's mercy. Look at you. You're dirty. You're this. It's because of you. All of that the enemy was putting in my head. But I did not know how to arrest that. Yes, I would say the scripture. Yes, I would pray, but I needed something more. And from my culture, you just pray about everything. You pray about it, or you fast and you pray. Then you fast and pray some more, and things ought to be whatever. And that wasn't the case. So I got the help. I got a therapist. And when I tell you this last year and a half, I have blossomed into the person that God has called me to be. No longer do I hide behind the ashes of my beauty. Because I would hear that scripture all the time. God will give you beauty for ashes. Lord, these ashes are rising up. I don't see any beauty coming out of this, right? So now I'm in the forefront of my beauty because the ashes are no longer telling my story. And so being free, that true freedom that only can come from Christ, where I can walk with my head held high, where my story is not being weaponized because of it happened to me, but it's not defining me. That was a huge step in my journey. And now I'm able to help other women go through, find the courage. It took courage to step up and say, listen, I'm raising my hand. God, I know you see me. I know you see my tears, but your word is what moves you, right? Lord, your word says, I see you see my tears. How do I move forward? I'm in the word. But sometimes we need a little bit of help. I needed the therapy. And when I tell you the things that I've been able to do is to get deep down into the hurt and what it was, I never forgave that little girl on the inside. That's what it was. I was angry at her and treating her like my 54-year-old self, but she's 12 to 14. She did not have the capacity to understand what was happening to her and why she couldn't get past certain things. But the mature Jennifer, who's gone through a few more experiences, right? Where I know the but God moments and all those types of things, now I'm able and I have forgiven her. Now she's free. She's no longer captive and held in bondage inside me when limiting beliefs start to come up. So I start to surround myself with, what does God say about me? I challenge what my thoughts, now they still come. I started to challenge my thoughts with what God's word says about me. Period.
Wow.
And walk
okay, now look, we're going to have to parse some of that apart because it was all delicious. And so I didn't want to stop you. But I want to make sure that we're clear, right? Because there are so many people who need to take that journey you just talked about. And I'll tell you the things that stuck out to me. The first thing that stuck out to me is you said, I forgave with my lips, right? Define that for me. And then we'll go to the next thing that stuck out.
Just that. Yes, I forgive you for hurting me. I just said it with my lips, literally.
But there was no feeling.
No sincerity. No, it was just like, I know because I'm supposed to forgive because I'm saved. I'm supposed to forgive. So I forgive you.
And then you said, I forgave with my heart. I allowed my heart to forgive. And many would think that that was enough, right? And you went on beyond that. And I want to make sure that we hone in on the difference, right? So lip is truly lip service. Like, I'm just going to tell you what I kind of believe you won't want to hear. It's not authentic and not true. It's not even heartfelt. You then took the journey and you forgave with your heart, but you did not allow your heart to heal, is what you said after. So now tell me about that middle stage. I forgave with my heart.
With my heart, because God kept dealing with me. You need to have a conversation. And that's something I did not want to have. Now, let me just say this as well. On your journey to healing and being and forgiving and all that, doesn't mean you're going to excuse the act. Doesn't mean you have to be back in relationship with that person. Doesn't mean you have to even be around them. You can still forgive with your heart and not even see them again. So let me not say that's all you do. But when I say I had to forgive with my heart, it's because I never really allowed the forgiveness of Christ to really come in and see, because that's how we're forgiven, because Christ forgave us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when I say to be forgiven, forgive him with my heart, to when those memories or those triggers were to pop up,
Mm-hmm.
they no longer take me into another place.
Mm-hmm.
I released all the hurt. I released the guilt and the shame,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it wasn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to forgive that part in myself to say it's not your fault. So having the conversation with this person, heart to heart, and bawling and crying, and then knowing that that person said they couldn't even forgive themselves. They didn't believe God could even forgive them, so never gave their lives to Christ. When I forgave with my heart and embraced, this is my journey. I'm not saying you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And this person got saved in their 50s
Mm-hmm.
because of my true heartfelt forgiveness. Their life changed. And not that is I'm not the conduit. I'm just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to listen. I'm trying to see him myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know that when I released the hurt and the shame of what happened and the blame,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I truly knew that I forgave with my heart. It's no longer on me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever you do with it, person who abused me or did me wrong, that's on you, but it's not on me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean. I forgave with my heart because I didn't feel like I was held hostage anymore. I wasn't, side eyeing and just like, oh, those memories is the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
I truly gave that to God and allowed God to help me with that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I mean when I forgave with my heart, because when the memories would come, they didn't bother me like they did before. I didn't get angry. I didn't get bitter.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's really interesting? There's a couple of things that come to mind as you were talking. It makes me think of the book title. The book isn't about this, but the book title fits what we're talking about, because in order for you to evolve to the next stage of healing, you had to be willing to give up the good to go get the great, right? Because you have reached the point where you can figuratively say what we love to say, which is, I'm good, right? I'm
Mhm.
good. I have gotten past the point where I'm forgiving you with my mouth. I have gotten past the point where the memory sends me to a place where it turns my world upside down. I have set myself free from
Yeah.
the bondage of what was there. And for all practical purposes, that's a good place.
A good place,
It's
right?
a good place, right? And to go further than that is to be willing to give up that security with being good and subject yourself to the necessary vulnerability and sensitivity that it really took to genuinely heal. Now, that wasn't an easy undertaking,
No, ma'am.
because that healing has to go deep. The second thing that came to mind as you were talking is it likens to a cut that got an infection, right? And in order, the cut can heal, but when that infection sets in and you really get it to the point where you're thinking it's okay, and you realize that they now got to go back in under the skin because it has gotten infected, and open that thing up again so that they can truly get it to heal.
Yeah.
That's what that healing journey, because right on the surface, I'm good. I look good.
Got a
But
few scars.
something is not right here. It's scar tissue, or like something is not right, and I don't have the mobility, and I want to go beyond just being good. And that healing journey, now that's a doozy.
I'm still on it. I'm still on it, because in order for me that good to great
Mhm,
and being better than best,
mhm,
it's a constant journey, right? There's no end to this, because we're always evolving, because there's no graduation in Christ. The things that God wants to do in our lives, it comes in seasons. I truly believe that. And so when we get to the point where everything that has happened, let me talk about me, it getting to the healing part of it. I had to also release it to God and say, God, here I am. I need your help. How am I supposed to do the things that I know you have told me to do? I have journaled about these things. I have visions and all of these things. How is that supposed to happen when I feel like I'm still feeling? Not against the person, right? It's now against, it's internal and it's eating me alive. First of all, I have to give a shout out to my husband because he's known from Jumpstart, day one, before he even married me, and he still chose to marry me, right? And then going through all these years, I just told my children last year, 2019. So whatever that is, right? They had no idea. And I was thinking that I was protecting them by just not telling them, right? And so the problem is there's residual stuff that kind of just happens. And it was when I was having the conversation with my oldest, she'll be 29 this year. And she told me, it makes sense, Mama. When I told her what happened, I said, what do you mean? In 8th grade, my child thought I did not like her. She said, I knew you loved me, but I didn't think you liked me. And I knew exactly what she meant because I would say things like, are you sure you want to wear that to school today? Instead of not trying to be malicious or mean, but that's just because that little girl on the inside of me, I never liked her. I never liked what she wore. I always saw, the negative in anything, how I looked and all of that, never knowing that I was putting that off on her, or even my other 2 children. So us trying to not deal with our stuff and trying to deal with it on our own is why we stay in what we call cycles. Sometimes you go, years are great. I got 3 beautiful kids. On the surface, y'all think we have it going on. My husband was a colonel in the Air Force. I was an administrator. We're doing life. Our kids are doing great. Youngest was valedictorian. Everything life looks great. What could you possibly be going through? And that's another trick of the enemy that he did on me, saying that, I didn't come up through the miry clay. God didn't have to deliver me through alcohol abuse and all those types of things. So are you really saved? It doesn't matter. Whatever you go through, thank God he didn't have to get my attention through those means, because those that have been abused as children, you can find yourself going into some of those avenues. He shielded me from that. So I'm grateful. And that's one thing I had to start doing when I was healing my heart, waking up every day. What are 8 to 10 things that I'm grateful for? Grateful for. Starting my day with that. And then, of course, going through therapy. And again, I'm still on this course of healing. I still have the courage to heal. And I know every day that I make that choice is another day closer to evolving into the woman that God is truly calling me to be, that he has designed me to be. And I'm helping so many other women come along with it. But that forgiveness of self, having the courage to heal that thing way down on the inside, down below where the infection is, that ain't pretty. I'm gonna tell you, I've screamed, I've gone through depression, I have asked God why. My family is like, what is wrong with you? Not wanting my husband near me. Let's just be real with it. You don't understand, leave me alone, whatever, right? But then just accepting God's love and accepting his healing for my heart, that can only come from him. But I have to open up my heart gate to him. He doesn't override my will. If it's something that I don't want, it's not going to happen. But when I'm vulnerable, when I'm saying, God, here I am, my heart belongs to you. Fix me, Lord. Fix me. And when I ask, here comes the help with my therapist. My family has rallied around me, and my relationship with my abuser is, people won't even understand it. But I have the peace of God. I have joy way down on the inside. And then, my mother's gone on to be with the Lord now, but having that conversation with her, she didn't even know how to help me to heal. I'm like, but you my mama, right? But long story short, I'm just grateful to be in this place that I can even speak about this
Mm-hmm.
freely because there are no chains on me. I've been bruised, I've been broken, but I am not destroyed.
Oh my gosh. I love it. You know what I love most is that you recognize that you're still blossoming. You recognize that you're still evolving on this journey into becoming fully what God wants in your life. And the healing journey that you're on is a part of that process of Him getting you to that full state of how He wants to shine strong in you. And sometimes we think we arrive and we think we arrive too quickly and we think we got it all together. But when we can stay humble enough to say, you know what, Denise, I'm still on this journey.
Yes.
But let me lift my voice for those who are at step one and need to begin with their lips. And let me lift my voice for those who are at step two and manage to forgive in their heart. Let me lift those, my voice for those who need to take the healing journey so that they can come along. I won't be silent. I've got to tell the story because there are so many people who are in bondage. They are successful. You told it, right?
Mhm.
You guys had the full appearance of we don't have no issues. But when you pulled back the cover, you had the courage to take the journey to match with what people saw. And I just want us to make sure that we keep showing our light because there are so many people who need to see that because they're stuck.
Mhm. Mhm.
They cannot get past it. They cannot, reason with it. They're depressed, they're medicated. It's all sorts of things going on. And your testimony will free someone today. And
Mhm.
that's what I am most excited about. Somebody's going to make connection with that forgiveness journey. And you have faith fully baked into that, because the courageousness of your strength came from the faith that you had in the word of God. And so, that's a blessing to the legacy that your mom and your parents and your family created by having you learn and develop the relationship with Christ, because it is that rose up strong. It's that
Absolutely.
that you talk about it every day.
Every day, that's who I am. And
Mhm.
I'll say this too, Denise, getting out of that cycle, that's something that the enemy wants. He wants to isolate us and feel like we're the only ones. Because that's how I grew up. I thought nobody knows this pain. I was a church musician. I was the choir director. I was a praise and worship leader, and just going on. Nobody knew the behind the scenes, right? And I never showed up inauthentically per se, but I felt like if they only knew.
Mhm.
And then when I did start to share in my adult life, so many women of faith have
They're healed.
experienced the same thing that I'm talking about, but we have suffered in silence for so many years. It becomes the norm, it becomes our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we try to show up in different areas, as in accolades or this, that, and the third. But here's the deal, the real internal pain for me started to show up as external pain or manifestation of a whole lot of weight on me.
Mhm.
When I finally got down to the core root of my weight issue, is because I didn't love that little girl on the inside. And I was sabotaging myself, and it manifested in an extra 50 pounds on my body. I didn't know how to love myself
Mhm.
because I thought I was so ugly.
Mhm.
Who even my husband today, y'all, he's so handsome. He really is. I even question, now, what do you want with me?
Mhm.
I mean, and here it is, known him 33 years now, and I just love him to pieces. But when we get to that point, we have to know the tricks of the enemy. He will make you feel like you're the only one. You better not tell anybody that, then they're going to look at you funny. They're going to think, going to question your faith. Listen, I question my own faith, so I beat you to it, all right? You know, but at the same time, understanding that God loves me. God made me. I am the apple of his eye. Start telling myself who God says I am. Start telling myself that he has a plan for me. Yes, that's my life scripture. Plans to prosper and to give me hope for future. What is that future? I don't know what it is, but every day that I wake up, I have to remind myself who I am and whose I am, because the enemy is on his job and he roars like that lion, right, to scare us. And he scared me into being silent for 39 years. 39 years. And now I do feel like I'm evolving into this woman to where I'm living in authority. I'm walking in prosperity, unapologetically living my best life. And you're right. Now it's time for me to go help my sister because she doesn't know how to come through whatever that journey is for her, whether it is being abused, whether it is just low self-esteem for something else that happened. Maybe it wasn't like my story. We all have a story. But when you're not feeling like you're who God is calling you to be, or you're shying away from who God is trying to pull you to because of whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's a lie. Anything the enemy says is a lie. He's incapable of the truth. Yet I knew that, but I leaned more towards the lie because that was familiar for me. That was a comfort zone for me. That was, instead of leaning towards God's favor for my life and all that he has in store for me, if I would just say yes to him. So once I started saying no to him and start talking to the devil, like, listen, you're going to have to get under my feet because greater is he that is in me, and start speaking the words. Yeah. That's when all of that starts to happen. So I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful for my journey. I never used to say that. I'm grateful for my journey.
Wow. That's powerful. Because that shines so much light on what God can do, like truly do, to change your heart and your mind and your perspective, your understanding, because that statement is huge. When we all look at our journey, right? It is mixed and peppered in with so many different experiences. And for us to say the highs and the lows, in sum total, I'm grateful for it all. Not everybody can say that. I'm telling you, not everybody can say that, because when they look back over their life, all they can see is the low. When you look back over your life, you begin to see the victory.
Yes. Yes.
And that makes you say, I'm grateful. That makes you grateful for each and every one of the moments that you experience, because you look at it and you don't see how it ebb and flows. You see the victory that you got. And that's huge. It makes me think of, like, I tell my kids all the time, and they just laugh at me, because I'm like, when I get older, y'all don't have to take care of me. Y'all can put me in a nursing home, because I have lived a blessed life. Life did not rob me one bit, because I know what I've been through, and I too can look and say, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. It has not robbed me one bit. If God saw fit to say your blessing list is fully checked off, I'm good. He has really taken care of me. And I too look back over my life, and I got them valleys.
Yeah.
I have very similar valleys, and I have some highs, but I see victory. And that is what encourages me. So I just thank you. You know what? Listening to you, I am proud. I really, really, really am proud, only because I know what our conversations were before. And when I hear you talk now, I know that God is getting the glory out of your life. And so to you, I say, hats off for doing the hard work to go from good to great. Hats off to you.
Praise
Thank
God.
you. Thank you for lifting your voice. Thank you for being an example. And most of all, thank you for building a life that you love without apology. I
Yes.
appreciate you. Now, around these parts, we close out with 3 questions.
All right.
Okay. The first question is, and these are going to be good too, because I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. The first question is, what is your life wisdom that you would tell your younger self if you could?
Life wisdom. As long as you wake up every single day, if I would tell my younger self, know that God has greater in store for you. Live your life each and every day because God, let me say it this way, as long as you wake up each day, it's a day closer to where God is trying to take you.
Mm,
That's what life is all about.
mm,
Is we don't truly evolve until we evolve.
mhm,
And life isn't over until we have that end date. So as
mhm,
long as you wake up, know that God is still has plans for you. Just
mhm.
keep moving. Keep on living.
Just keep on living. All right. Now, what wisdom would you tell your younger self about love if you could?
Oh my goodness, if I could go back to that little Jennifer, I would say, listen, love yourself first and foremost.
Mm,
Spend time loving yourself,
mhm,
meaning tell yourself that you're beautiful. Don't wait for somebody else to tell you.
mm,
Spend time loving yourself.
mm,
I don't care if you have to dress up just because you want to and you want to look beautiful. It's okay. You
mhm.
don't have to wait for a special occasion to love yourself,
Wow.
you know?
Good. That's really good. And then finally, what's your happiness wisdom? What would you tell your younger self about happiness?
Girl, if you only knew the gifts, the talents that God has in store for you, how he's going to use you, hone those gifts. Don't shy away from them.
Mm,
Step up to your gift. Walk in it, therefore. If they talk about you, walk even stronger. Hold your head up higher.
mm,
Those accolades, when people start to praise you, say thank you
mm,
and keep moving.
mm,
So own your gifts, own your talents,
mm,
and own the blessings that God has given you. Don't be afraid to just own it, right?
mm.
And don't
That's,
shy away from and just, oh, well, thank you. That
mhm.
was me. Own it.
Oh, that's so good. Well, Jay Bell, I just want to tell you, girl, that success looks so good on you. And
Praise.
thank you for being a part of life, love, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer, for helping us to take that journey with you. It's powerful when you have to forgive and overcome circumstances that have been devastating to your life, ones that you have held on to for so long. But Jennifer's story lets us know that regardless of the amount of time that has passed by, we can overcome. There's power within us if we want to do the work and we commit to the process. Trust the process to heal us, we can overcome. Her testimony is strong, and it is a great success to hear how she is thriving now and continuing to go through the process for even greater healing. The challenge for us, for those areas that may be tough for us to overcome, for us to forgive, for us to heal, is that there's a testimony that if you will submit yourself, you can do it. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being authentic and sharing your testimony and how you did the work. Superpower number 3. to exemplify success. We love you here, and we thank you for sharing such a delicate story with us all. As always, we need you to rate, review, like, and share. This platform is here to encourage you, motivate you, and empower you. You can indeed build a life that you love without apology, and you have the power to do so. So thank you again, and be sure to like, share, subscribe, rate, review, all those great things that help podcasts be successful and reach others with messages that can help transform their life. We'll see you next time on Life, Love, in the Pursuit of Happiness. Well, that's it, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. Don't ever forget that you truly deserve life, love, and all the happiness your heart can hold. Be relentless in building a life you love without apology. I'm Denise Taylor, and you can always find me in our free Facebook community. Life, Love, in the Pursuit of Happiness, easy to find. Now, if you want more information about my success superpowers, as I'm sure you do, download my free Success Superpowers ebook at denisetaylor.live/podcast. And one last thing, always embrace your power and go.